Now we come to the formation of a company. How is a company formed? It's a critical component in Company Act. The stages followed in the formation of a company: promoter stage, incorporation stage, raising of capital stage, trade certificate stage. We start with the first one, promoter stage. Under this stage, we look at those people who have come up with the idea of starting up a company. So there are people who engineers the idea of coming up with a company. That is what we mean by promoters. They are also called pioneers or founders. Duties of promoters: one, engineer the idea. So they come up with the idea to start a company. Two, they register the idea. So it's the work of promoters to register the idea after coming up with the idea. Three, planning. They plan for the idea. So they take initiative and plan where to start, when to start, where will they get resources, who will carry out the operation. Mobilize the resources. So it's the work of the promoters to know where they will get the resources: manpower, machine, management, material, money. So this is the work of promoters. Make decisions. So the critical component of promoters is decision making. So it is their mandate to make sure that decisions are made for the operation of the company. Stages. So they make sure that all stages are fulfilled in the registration of a company. But two stage is the registration. The incorporation of a company requires the filling and submission of the fundamental documents, which are: one, memorandum of association; two, article of association. So in the registration of a company, once a company has been registered, it is the requirement of the company to submit the memorandum of association and article of association to the registrar of companies. So first we start with the memorandum of association, the document which shows the relationship between the company and the owners. Now in this document we have different clauses. So the following are the clauses under the memorandum of association. We have name clause, which shows the name of the company. What do you call the company? So the company must have a name, and this name gives it official personalities. Two, objectives of the clause. Under objective clause, we look at the purpose of the company, the objectives of the company, the mission and the vision of the company, the target, the strategies, and the core values of the company. So they must be clear. Capital clause. This clause shows the total amount of capital which the company must raise for it to be effective in its operation in the market. Office of registration clause. Now in the office of registration clause, we have two critical elements that must be clearly indicated. One, the country. Two, the city. Now why this? It's very important, so that if you are looking for this company, you're traveling from other countries looking for where the company has been located, it's very easy to do the location. Why? Is because when you know the country and you know the city, it's easy to get where the company, the location of the company, the mapping of the company. And finally, the association clause. So this clause shows the relationship between the company and the owners. So these are what entails in the memorandum of association. Now we come to the article of association. And this is an error. It's supposed to be article of association, AOA. The document which shows how the company ran its operation. It established the relationship between company and the outsiders. So the information which you find in the article of association, one is the method of raising capital. How will you raise capital? Which method are you applying in the raising of capital? Two, the method of dividends payment. How will you divide dividends? So payment of dividend is another critical component. So investors must pay their due. Method of appointing or appointment of directors. So the directors must be appointed. And how do you do the appointment of directors? Now remember, we have grown. How directors are appointed? It used to be you have just appointed, and then came vetting. Then now we are talking about vetting, which is a critical component. So there is appointment, and then we came to recruitment, which is interviews, and then now which is vetting. You qualify for the position based on your performance. Now we come to the duties, responsibilities, and powers of directors. It has to be clear. What are the duties of directors, responsibilities of directors, and the powers of directors? Then we need a certificate, a bona fide certificate certified by advocate, attorney general, or CPA professionals. So these are a few information, but there are several based on the agreement between the directors. Now, capital raising is another critical component. So the backbone of every business is to get best source of capital, which will be used to run the business. So for any business to be effective and operational, capital is a critical component. Now, how do you get the capital? The following are the source of financing. 1, equity capital. 2, borrowing. 3, loans. So these are ways which a company can get source of capital. Equity capital is a composition of share capital, reserves, and profits. Now we have what you call debt capital, which is now a composition of borrowing and loans, and share or debenture or issue of debentures. Now, commencement. How will the business start? So this is the final stage. Issue of certificate of trade. Issue of certificate of incorporation. So before a business commences, it must be issued with the certificate of incorporation. Now the certificate of incorporation is normally issued by the registrar of companies after receiving the memorandum of association and article of association from the board of directors. So once the registrar of companies goes through these documents, he will approve them, sign them, and he will issue the certificate of incorporation. Now a private company commences business immediately. It is issued with the certificate of incorporation. But the public company must wait. Issue of certificate of trade. Now certificate of trade is normally issued once the company complies with the necessary information. So certificate of trade is linked with the prospectus. Whether all the documentation of prospectus has been made, minimum subscription has been achieved by the company, director shares have been well allocated and paid for. So once this information has been critically analyzed by the registrar of companies, now we will issue the certificate of trade. Now certificate of trade allows the public company to commence business. So normally you ask, when is the business coming into existence? Any company comes into existence once it is issued with a certificate of incorporation. That brings us to the end of the first stage of